great presentation in store today, plus some events, some referrals, some just community fun. You'll get to experience our speech breakout, which is very new and unique when it comes to networking, and I think you'll love it. And anybody, if you're watching on YouTube, you're welcome to chime in the comments. I can even put your comment over the screen. And if you're live here, welcome. Thanks for being a part of this live broadcast for Digital PNA. So let's dive in. And let's make sure I have my buttons working. Okay, so
for diving.
my name is Marcel. I am the president for 2025. And the theme of the year is, wouldn't it be cool if? And the whole idea of this is, wouldn't it be cool if we had 500 people watching live for Heath's presentation? Wouldn't it be cool if we were publicly doing our one-to-ones on Instagram Live? Or what if we were just doing really cool things? So I want to encourage you to keep that possibility mindset as we navigate and we think about ways that we support the community and one another this year. And these are our current member roster. The top purple line is their Instagram. So if you guys network on Instagram, you can follow these folks on Instagram. You can take a photo of the screen. You can tag them. There's all sorts of ways to cross-promote and cross-syndicate content. And then you can see there's several spaces that are available. So we're happy to have a guest today. Brian, welcome from Seattle. He's up in the Kitsap area, and he's going to get a chance to do his presentation along with everybody else for our commercials. And with that being said, so let's talk a little bit about how Digital PNA is a little bit different than our other chapters. We are looking for some volunteers today. So if you are willing to be a photographer or a video clip snagger, so again, we're not broadcasting a TED Talk with these, we're just getting 10 seconds of activity, maybe 3, maybe 20. So does anybody want to take a photo or a video clip? Oh, Emma, thank you for putting your hands up. And Brian, you also, Brian Trendler. So again, multiple people can do this role because it is not just a one-person show anymore. We need everyone participating at whatever level they're comfortable for. And shout out to Christina. We did a one-to-one this last week, and we talked a lot about going live and what does that mean? And oh my goodness, how do we do this? And so if you guys ever have questions on how do you do the digital part, please reach out to me for a one-to-one, and I will help make sure you have the right buttons to push and the right mindset to navigate into the digital world. The other thing is we've got everybody's encouraged to update your story on Facebook or Instagram or even LinkedIn or YouTube. So you're able to do that. And then can somebody be the tracker or meme maker today? And this person, they listen for quotables. If he says something brilliant, he might say, it's really easy to raise, $20,000. Let's say he says that. You could take that text, put it in a text over graphic, and that could be a meme, right? So does anybody want to do that role today? Anybody being shy? Maybe Christina or Mike or Brian Trendler? Meme maker or tracker. We're just listening for quotables. So to me, awesome. Thank you, Mike. So our whole theory here is that if there's nothing worth quoting, why are we having a meeting, right? Why are we collaborating? And so no pressure, Heath. And everybody can say something notable. It doesn't have to be just the speaker, but we do have a speaker of the day. And then again, you can share out this YouTube link to your platform, your LinkedIn, if you want other people to show up, or you've got a friend or a business partner that might enjoy this. We can have more people on. So, okay, so next up, we're going to do our digital PNA commercials. So you're going to have up to 60 seconds to tell us all about you. Who is an ideal client? What is the most recent podcast you were on? We want to hear what you want to tell us. So, and don't forget to celebrate a digital win. Maybe you did your first live. Maybe you got a new referral through a LinkedIn chat. Who knows what? But we want to celebrate you. So don't be afraid to brag. Just a little bit in here. You can impress us. It's okay. So with that, I'm going to stop the screen share. And who would like to go first for commercials?
I'll go.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian.
I'll get out of the way. Show the other Brian how it's done. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Most of you know I own PNA Northwest too, so thank you once again. But also I represent a company that Marcel and I actually share called Laugh Tech. It stands for Learn About Funny Techniques. We are humor engagement coaches. We work with anybody and everybody across the country how to become better, more memorable speakers using humor. And I also get calls every once in a while where someone will say, "Can you marry off my children?" Well, I also am an efficient. I'm an efficient as well as an MC and auctioneer. So if you know businesses that are having get-togethers, conferences that are boring as heck, there's sticks and mud on stage, I'm the person to replace that, make sure the form and flow goes, the activity stays live, people are active, motivated to participate. And yes, once again, if they're of the appropriate age, or if you have recently said, "I do," well, then the next step should be, "I will contact Brian from Laugh Tech."
Thank you, Brian. My name is Emma with Country Financial here at Courtney Hamilton's agency. And I know in today's climate, we're always trying to look for the best deal, the cheapest rate, but I don't really think that insurance is the route to go for that. Unfortunately, when it comes to an accident, if you don't have enough coverage, that's going to bite you. I'll tell you from personal experience. My son was in a horrific accident where he ended up being 20% at fault, even though he wasn't the main culprit there. With that being said, the gentleman who got injured came after us for $100,000 in medical bills. I actually had the lowest premium at that time, or the lowest, coverage at the time, and didn't have enough. So they told me I was going to end up having to pay out of pocket, garnish my wages, Luckily, he did settle out of court and take the $25,000, which did increase my premium, unfortunately. So, I saw that come around that way. But letting you know that it is important to make sure that you have that proper coverage in case something like that happens. So reach out to us here at Country Financial, Courtney Hamilton's agency. We'll make sure that you're properly covered.
Awesome. Hold on. I'm not on mute. Okay, great. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Heath Pierce. I am our presenter today, so I'll try to keep this as short as possible, but I'm with TJ Corporate Credit. Corporate credit isn't just about access to capital. It's about separating your identity from your enterprise and being able to scale your business with confidence. So we specialize really in building strong, fundable business credit profiles that separate your personal identity from your business. So our clients usually gain access to real lenders and vendors who report to the major commercial credit bureaus, which unlocks funding opportunities without risking, their personal assets or their credit. So whether you're just starting out or scaling fast, we want to walk step by step with you to secure lines of credit, maybe corporate cards, fleet financing, vendor accounts, all tied to your business EIN and not your social security number. We also help, position you to qualify for even larger funding and better terms with long-term financial leverage. Again, my name is Heath Pierce. I'm with TJ Corporate Credit.
Now, am I going or are you, Brian, going?
I'll go.
Okay.
One of the short ones here is I try to make I connect people with, I call it the financial minivan plan. In other words, it's as boring as possible and only as exciting as it needs to be. You just put the word financial and people their eyes roll back in their head and they're about to fall asleep. They're not listening to the next thing. So I get kind of weird on them sometimes. But how do we do that when people think about, because it's not necessarily retiring. If you hear about somebody who retired at age 40, how'd you do that, right? So it doesn't have to be, what you accomplished isn't necessarily boring, but the way you do it is as boring as possible. And by that, I mean, the people who've been working with me, we're not freaking out last week. Like, oh, it sucks to be those guys, but Brian helped us. So that's some of the stuff that I do. Words like retirement. And here's like a little phrase I remind people, income taxes are on sale. What do you mean? Well, pay some of that now instead of wait till later when they're double what they're going to be today. So you want to know more, you go to retirezerotax.com, get introduced to me, and I introduce you to the rest of my organization. That's that.
Oh my gosh, and I have to follow that. Well, Brian, it sounds like when people hear about financial services, they roll their eyes back. When they hear about advertising, they run for the door.
Hello, gotta go.
Well, it's not the time. I gotta go. Because advertising is inherently obtuse and opaque and difficult to understand for a reason. Traditionally, that's how people would sell advertising. We will do our magic over here, and all you have to do is pay us money,
Oh,
and then your ads may work or they may not work. You don't know. And a big thing I talked about a couple weeks back in a media kit, in anybody's analysis of a media kit, is really, is there going to be help for me to figure out what tools work for my particular product or service or goal? And that's what I do. I help companies figure out what tools work. And they may not be Puget Sound Business Journal tools. That's where I work, at the Puget Sound Business Journal. But I have been in advertising for a while, and I do love talking to people about what is available to them to get their message out. And as you said, Brian, and I think it came up again maybe from you, Heath, to connect. The Puget Sound Business Journal is a way to connect you with information and a way to connect business people with other business people. So I like to think of myself as a connector more than a salesperson. But at the end of the day, really what I hope to do is simply guide people to the right solution.
that wasn't boring at all, man.
Well,
See,
it's a captive
when you
audience
set the bar
here,
right
so.
there, don't be boring. You know, then you don't have to have another part. Just don't be boring.
All right, well, I guess it's my turn. Hi, guys. So, Christina from Outdoor Lighting Perspectives of North Sound and Puget Sound. So, basically, if you don't have a light in your life, we bring the light to you, into your life. So, right now, in the meantime, spring is gracing the Pacific Northwest. Spring. Okay, spring. But no, now is the perfect time to get your outdoor lighting, whether you're looking for the bistro, the pathway, just accent lighting for your trees, your landscaping. Now is the perfect time to go ahead and get in and get that lighting done, right before we end up back in the gloomy season again. And fun thing is that we do have our home show next week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So everybody here will get an email invitation with a link for 2 complimentary tickets. So if you guys want to go and check us out, which I highly recommend, be a great time to, see us in person, ask us questions, and then, of course, just look at some of the lighting that we have to offer, as well as some advertising for everybody else. So, yeah, stay tuned for that.
Okay, that's me. I was texting Rosie. I was like, Rosie, we're live on camera. We can see you sneezing. So again, reminder, you guys, we're live on YouTube. And while we only have 2 people today, we may get 10, 20, 50 views in the near future. So there is a little button over there. If you want to go off camera, you can either mute yourself or go off camera. So if you've got audio in the background, or I don't know who that is.
Huge feedback too. Everyone needs to mute if they're not.
Yeah. So if you've got noise around you, please mute if you are not sharing, or if your fingers are super loud. Brian Trendler, when you're typing, please mute also. Okay. That's my PSA. So my name is Marcel. I run a company called Dreamosity. I am the lead trainer right now. It's a social media advertising and training company. I'm also the author of a book called Financial Joy, Know the Data Behind Your Dreams. And to me, I define that as knowing how to sell and market so that you hit your financial goals, so you can go and invest with the really smart people. I won't teach you how to invest, but I will teach you to listen more closely to your social network, to have fun on video, to go live, and to build out a sales team, because that's one of the best ways you can actually grow your business is by being right here at PNA and getting referrals from people who know, like, and trust you. So with that, visit dreamosity.com. I challenge you all, spend 5 minutes there this week. There's some new stuff going up. Poke around. I'll give you $1 if you find a broken link. I know that they may be out there, but I do want to encourage you guys, spend time on dreamosity.com. It should be a tool for you and your clients. It's a great resource. So check it out. And if you ever want to do a one-to-one, feel free to go to dreamosity.com/schedule and schedule an hour with me. I'd love to meet you at a coffee shop, or we can do a live stream like Rosie and I did on Instagram. So we've got options. All right, Rosie, I'm going to toss it to you.
All right. So, Rosie with TAP Services. So, tax season, another one, successfully behind us. So, what I do is provide financial bookkeeping for businesses, but I also, for clients that want a one-stop shop, will actually do their taxes for them as well. And I actually have some success stories this last tax season. So I had one client that took me on as a bookkeeper and also wanted me to go ahead and do her taxes. Well, she paid $4,000 more in taxes last year versus when I did it this year. And so she was just thrilled, and she was just like, "Oh my God, I don't know what you did, but thank you." And then another tax preparer or client that I did taxes for gets me excited when I put in their gross income, and then I put in all the deductions and everything else, and went from owing 10,000 to getting a refund of $576. So if you know anybody that looked at their taxes this year and was like, "Oh my God, what did I do?" Send them my way, because I can actually review their taxes and make sure they did everything properly. So Rosie with Tap Services.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody. Great job with your commercials. So we're going to move forward now to our curveball question. Let's see if I can get this to share screens real quick for us. And I want to encourage you, if you suddenly had access to $20,000, maybe you got a major tax refund, or I don't know, you worked with Heath for a couple months, or some other windfall. If you had an extra $20,000 this Friday, what would you do? Would you get a studio? Would you work on your team, get some camera equipment? Would you get a fleet? Would you add to your fleet? Would you save it for retirement? We would love to hear your ideas and your thoughts on this digital question, because you never know when you're going to have a windfall, and great things happen to those who have a referral team. So you never know. Let's go in reverse order this time. So Rosie, you're up with this question.
Gosh, loaded question for an accountant. You know that, right? So, anyways, if I was to receive 20,000 this Friday, I think I would do two things specifically with it. One is I would build a kind of she shed in the backyard, because I've wanted a separate office from my house for the longest time, so that I can have peace and quiet. And then the other half would be to actually start investing.
Excellent. So the order here is in the chat now. So if I would have $20,000, I would definitely save some of it, but I would go for that studio that I've been talking about, that office space, because I'm so close to making it all happen, and I really want to get there. So I would have a training room for up to 30 or 40 people, right here in Mill Creek. So that still may happen here. Stay tuned. Okay, Christina.
Oh man, if I had that kind of money, well, honestly, I'm kind of with Rosie on the she shed. Good Lord. I kind of just want my own space. It's hard when you're a mom, also a dog mom who follows you everywhere. So if y'all see me glance over, it's because my bulldog is in here with me. And so I just kind of need that personal space away from them. But then I would also just save it. I have a child. I own a home. Life just happens. More recently, like 2 weeks ago, my deep freezer with all my meat went out. So I had to replace that. So honestly, if I had $20,000 tomorrow, I'd go replace all the meat that I had in my deep freezer. And yeah, so I would honestly probably just save the rest for rainy days, and yeah, save the cow, like Brian just said. So yeah, that's what I would do with 20 grand.
Let me take myself off mute here. 20 grand. My gosh, the mind boggles. Here at the Puget Sound Business Journal, we have in video media, and Marcel and I have spoken about this. So I would be conflicted. Do I spend $20,000 and hire Marcel, or do I spend and get the equipment and software here for us to do a better job of using video to promote things that we do, like our events? Either one, I'd spend it on, not that expensive. Well, but you got to have a new outfit when you're doing video. So But yeah, it would be an investment / reinvestment in trying to get our message. Seriously, I'm not blowing smoke here. Trying to get our message out more dynamically via video. We don't do that. We should do that.
All right, Brian V.
Oh, BV is here. Okay. I'm not muted. Cool. I took this question. I read it carefully. So if you had 20 to put into your business, for those who said, wait, I'm going to buy, build a freezer and stuff. If the question was, yeah, that's all covered, and I got 20 grand to spend on the business, I do more of what I already do, is get the word out. And I probably got hey, Mike, what do you do? But having video content that's out there, I met you guys because the videographer that I have hired in the past, JD of J. Donovan Smith Creative, I've said to him, when we got the budget, I'm just going to put you on retainer, dude, because he's done some clever things for me to get the point across to overcome bias that people have toward people who have job titles like mine. And it's kind of, had some fun, and I can tell when people watch it. So more of that. Examples include, I live in Kingston, and there's this great theater here. An example of an event. The Firehouse Theater used to be a fire station, I don't know, about 300 years ago. And there's huge crowds of like 7 people in there. You can rent out the whole theater. But to have an event, if I had that kind of money, I would hire more, more mics and more JDs and get the message out, and have special events like a movie, and not necessarily a boring movie. I'm gonna shorten the story quick, but have some event where you get to come watch a movie and talk about it, and then have maybe includes wine or snacks or donuts or something, and maybe pay for your ferry. The people got to come across the water. Some of those kinds of things, events like that. And here's why movie. I'm gonna wrap this up. But when I was a young man dating in Hawaii as a kid, somebody who could drive and actually take somebody, I would take the girl to the movie first. So then there's something to talk about when you go out to dinner instead of the other way around. It'd be daylight. They think, what? I also get to see what they're wearing. Like, oh, she's cute. Yeah. Oh, those shoes? I don't know. And then anyway, then we watch a movie. You can sit there and be awkward. And then maybe if the elbows touch or not, you get the vibe before you got to go to dinner. And so, but all that to say, have a movie, those kind of events that people don't expect from some boring financial person, and just get the word out. Done.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah, you're hard to follow, man. So 20 grand. I would probably split it up into a few different parts. So part of it, I would purchase a really nice video camera, microphone setup, the arm to hold the microphone, maybe one of those cool gaming chairs like I see people on YouTube sit in all the time, lighting, mixer board, all that. And then with the remainder that I had left, I do 2 things. Number one, I'd hire Marcel to help me figure out, how to produce the video content that I want. Number 2, I spend the rest on taking the full slate of Laugh Tech classes so I can be a better presenter.
It's music to my ears, Heath. See,
Well, to help Courtney build her agency, I would say 20,000. I would definitely go with Mike and do some advertising. I actually spoke with her about it recently, just letting you know. And we would also like to probably, I would like to do an event. So I would definitely have Brian host that. So it takes the pressure off us, but and also probably buy leads. I mean, I would think that would be a good one for us too. So that's where I'd be at.
That's awesome. Okay, so everybody gave me all kinds of inspiration from all these floating heads. It's really, really phenomenal. And frankly, for the record, Brian Vaughn, you can never have as big of a freezer as you think you need, because there's always need for meat. Okay, so what would I do with 20K toward the business? Quite honestly, Marcel and I, let's face it, we're pretty awesome. But guess what? It's just us. $20,000, if divided between, say, 6 months, is roughly $3,333.33. So if we were to find a part-time salesperson that would work for roughly $2,000 a month with maybe an increment bonus structure, we need another salesperson. We need someone else to do what we do, get out there and do all the things we're already doing, but even do it better, just from the standpoint of you can be great at 3 or 2, you can be phenomenal at 3. So I would recommend that she and I invested into a salesperson part-time, and we could stretch that out to probably about 10 months. And within 10 months, if they're not selling, frankly, within 90 days, if they're not selling, we'd move on to the next person anyway. But I think we could really benefit from that from a business growth perspective with LaughTech. There we go.
Excellent. Great response, Brian. Christina, do you want to publicly change your answer? Because I liked your answer. Go ahead and share.
I'll redeem myself. Dang. Yeah, listening and reading is fundamental. So thanks, Brian, for pointing out. Brian Vaughn, actually, because he was like, I read it. So nice little dig there. So I would actually use the money to fly up to Washington regularly. So, well, Brian, you're the only one that doesn't know. I'm actually based in Texas. So I would actually fly up to Washington. I did live there for a while, but I would fly back up to Washington regularly to help Rob with the content and helping grow, and then just kind of getting more face to face with our clients, and just kind of getting hands on behind the scenes with our technicians as well, so I can get a better understanding of everything that goes on for our customers and stuff. So I would use the money to just fly up there and help with the content, and in the sense, still a mini vacation for me because I love Washington. So yeah, that's what I would do to help Rob grow the business.
Excellent. Good. Okay, so that question, thank you for entertaining that silly question. It was to tee up today, Heath, our presenter. So Heath, I hope that was a good question for you. So let's dive in. Give us a seldom known personal fact, Heath. What do we not know about you yet?
Oh my goodness. Well, some of you know a lot. Some of you know very little. But I'm a Washington native. I was born and raised in the town of Puyallup, Washington. And $1 for anybody that can spell that. And spent most of my life in a small town. But a seldom known personal fact about me. I am a nerd when it comes to riding bicycles. I love to go out, and I'm one of those nerds that wearing spandex, that the drivers just absolutely love to cuss at, and try to run you off the road. I try to be as respectful as I can, because I know that we're all sharing, the same access. But yeah, that's something that I absolutely love to do. And, we're getting into the time of year where most of my day off on the weekend is consumed with that activity.
Excellent. And what's the topic of your presentation today?
The topic of my presentation is corporate credit. And I gave it a title, Marcel. It was Unlocking the Power of Corporate Credit.
Excellent. When you're ready, you can hit that screen share button and take it away.
I will. So I just want to start out, and introduce myself again, and thank you all, for being here. So today, what I want to talk about is something that's critically important to your business, but often it's just completely overlooked, and that's going to be corporate credit. So if you're like most small business owners or entrepreneurs, I've done this myself. You've probably used your personal credit to keep your business moving. It's not a sin. It's not against the law. There's really nothing wrong with it, but I'm going to show you, what the risks of doing that are, and, actually show you a little bit of a better way to go about it. Credit card loans you've probably done, or maybe even you've mortgaged your home to get, access to capital. And, for a lot of people, including myself at one point in time, it feels really normal, but in essence, it's really risky. And I'm here to show you, that there is a smarter and a safer way to fund your business. So it's a way that it protects you.
Are you screen sharing?
Not yet.
Okay, just want to make sure
I'm just speaking extemporaneously.
Cool.
And I will have a slideshow that I put together. But I want to show you, that there's a smarter, safer way to fund a business or your business. and it protects you personally. And more than that, it opens up more funding opportunities, and it positions your company to grow with confidence. So some of the topics that I'm going to talk about is just what corporate credit is. I will talk about how it's completely different from personal credit. And probably most importantly is how building corporate credit can protect your family, your finances, even your future. So I have kind of a simple goal. I just want you to leave here knowing exactly why this matters, and if you're interested, how you can start to do the same thing. And before I get into my slide share, I'm going to share something deeply personal with everybody here, because it does tie in with what I'm doing. So I started my first company in 1992. That'll tell you just about how old I am. I was a young man, and we needed things, and I hadn't had the time to build up a big savings account or a 401k that I could borrow from or anything. I was 25 years old. So I went down to a place called American General Finance, and I was able to secure a $10,000 personal loan at like 18.5% interest. And then my business partner and I, used various credit cards to get the things that we needed to, be in business. Several years later, I hadn't learned my lesson, and I actually sold that business to my partner. It lasted for about another 25 years after I sold it. And I went into business with somebody else, and it was somebody that I didn't know as well. I was still pretty young and still a little bit naive. And what we were doing was we were in the boat business, boat sales. We actually had the inventory, and it was kind of a unique business in that we imported boat hulls. So just the shell of the boat from British Columbia. We brought him down to Portland, Oregon, where we were located. And my business partner, he was a real gearhead, and he would custom build a motor for these boats. And his only sales question really was, how fast do you want to go? Which was kind of really cool to me at the time, and I really enjoyed it. And I financed a bunch of these boat hulls, too many of them, in my personal name, and personally guaranteed that debt. And it turns out, my business partner was not as reliable as I had known him to be for a few years, and things did not go like we thought. So eventually one day, my wife got the better of me, and we had a little repo, and we had a street. The entire street that I lived on was full of boat holes, and we sold them at about 40 cents on the dollar, and the rest of it floated me straight into personal bankruptcy. That was over 25 years ago. Obviously, I've recovered from that, but that is an example of what I want to talk about in a little bit more depth today. So just 1 second, and I will do the screen share. There we go. Can you all see that? I didn't get any responses. Okay. So
yes, we can.
Okay, thank you, Brian. So we're going to talk about unlocking the power of corporate credit. Now, just to reintroduce myself, I'm Heath Pierce. I'm a corporate credit consultant for TJ Corporate Credit. We're going to talk about building business credit, protecting your personal profile, and getting funding faster. So I think the normal place to start here is, what is corporate credit? Corporate credit is credit that's tied to your business's EIN number, or employer identification number. And that's basically the social security number for your business. Not everybody has an EIN number, and it's simply because they haven't applied for one yet. But it is an important thing to have, especially if you want to build credit, corporate credit. So it is separate from your personal credit. Hopefully I'll get to the point where I can talk about where there is a little bit of overlap, and you can build this credit without having to guarantee anything personally and go through a situation like I had to go through back in the year 2000. So why does corporate credit matter? So the first bullet point that I have on my slide here is it protects your personal credit. And I want to just pause right here and sort of play out a scenario. You already heard my own personal story. But let's think just back to, something a little bit more contemporary. And that is going to be, everybody remembers March of 2020 like it was yesterday, 15 days to flatten the curve. And then we ended up in this sinkhole for, 2.5, 3.5 years, something like that. I did a little research earlier this morning. Just wanted to see if I could confirm some data. And as close as I could come to find out was 1.1 million businesses had to permanently close because of the COVID-19 pandemic. 1.1 million businesses. How many families did that affect? It's in the tens to 20 million or more. And so just imagine, being the business owner with hundreds of thousands or even tens of thousands of debt that you put into your business to build it up, and it just disappeared. Your business has disappeared overnight through no malfeasance of your own, no fraud, no anything. It was a health issue for the entire nation. But you close your business, that debt doesn't go away. Those business owners were still on the hook for it. The data that I couldn't find was a correlation between personal bankruptcies and these business closures. I was looking for something that made sense, but I couldn't come up with that.
Hey, Heath, we're still seeing slide 1. So if you've got 2 screens, we're still on slide 1. So I want to make sure we're seeing.
Well, that's interesting because
we're seeing
slide 4.
I know. I just was trying to realize that. So whatever your presentation mode is, we're seeing the unpublished version or the presented mode.
Okay, one second. Let me.
So go ahead and stop sharing, and then that looks right. Now I see slide why personal.
Okay. Well, I'm in the presenter mode.
Yep.
Or the slideshow mode. Maybe I could just put it on keep it here if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah. So now we see slide 2. Perfect.
Okay, great. Thanks. So here I was going to go to this slide 3 here. So where I was on slide 3 and why it matters. So again, it protects your personal credit. It also helps unlock better vendor terms and funding. We can talk a little bit more about that later in the presentation. And it also makes your business more attractive to buyers and to lenders. And so what I mean by attractive to buyers, if a lot of people have the goal of building up a business to sell it. And if somebody can come in and take over, existing credit for your business, it makes your business more valuable because they don't have to spend the time and the effort to build the business credit profile. They don't have to risk their own personal credit to do any upgrades or get any other things they want to add to the business. They can simply just take over because now they're the owner of the EIN number and you're no longer, tied to that credit. They are. So it does make a business a little more valuable when you go to liquidate it when you're sort of done being that entrepreneur. So let's take a step back and we're going to compare corporate credit to personal credit. So most of us understand enough about personal credit to know you got to have a good score. We pretty much know with all the different tools we have available to us now about where our score is. You're never going to get an exact number unless you contact the credit bureaus directly, but my Capital One bank card or my Bank of America Visa card, they have these little trackers on their apps that keep track of my credit score, and I understand about where I'm at. And I'm sure all of you probably have something similar. So credit scores personally range from a low of 300 and a high of 850. So you can see in the score ranges there, 800 to 850 is exceptional, 740 to 799, very good. Most people fall in that 670 to 739, good credit. Fair is 580 to 669, and then 300 to 579 would be considered poor credit. And all those numbers are influenced, by things like your payment history, your credit utilization, meaning how much of the maximum or the credit limit on a credit card is, how much do you use? Do you use 30% of it, 40% of it, 80% of it? The length of your credit history, whether you've opened new credit recently, that can have a derogatory effect on your personal credit score, and the credit mix, whether you're borrowing from really high rate, sort of sharky type lenders, or whether you're able to secure, a little more what we call a prime type financing personally, can have an effect on your credit score as well. But why isn't personal credit built for business? So first of all, personal credit limits are usually a lot lower than a business can qualify for. My first year in business, I did over $3 million in revenue. Had I been using a corporate credit model at that time, I would have qualified for a lot higher limits than I did personally, because I didn't pay myself very much money. And not, all personal credit is designed, to fund things like operations or payroll or, business growth, because there just isn't the limit there for it. And then something I talked about just a minute ago, a high utilization, of your personal credit, it tanks your personal credit score. Even temporary use can drop your personal credit rating. So by continuing to fund your business, through personal means, you're literally hurting your own personal credit score. Late payments, are equal to major personal damage. So if your business is unable to make a payment for some reason, that's going to damage your personal credit record. And, a business setback, maybe not something as severe as COVID-19, but, there are some businesses right now with these international tariffs that are having a hard time. And if those people are not financed correctly, they may end up damaging, their personal credit that they work so hard to build up. And that's really not the best option. And then lastly, commingling, debt, it really blurs the liability. So, something your business bought and paid for, whether it was a printer or some sort of a server, maybe it was a forklift, it just depends on the business. But, you become personally responsible for any business losses. When you tie credit to your business, if your business loses, you don't have to lose personally. So I hope that makes sense. And then there's fallout when the business can't pay. So if the business fails, or, they're subject to something like COVID-19 or, tariffs, or, any of these different, conditions that you really have no control over, your personal life pays a price. You risk personal bankruptcy. I went through it. I'd never go down that road again. Damaged credit can mean, no home, maybe no ability to get a new car, or even a job opportunity if you need to go back into the job market, because, most employers do some sort of a credit check to make sure they're not hiring, somebody that has, really low standards, or they can make a moral judgment about how you handle yourself and your debt. It places marital and family stress into the equation. And then, debt collectors will target you personally, and it can take years. And I'm a walking testament to this. It took me years to rebuild, just to get back to average. I got way back to better, to way better than average, but it was no fun during those times. And, you know, it's a completely avoidable situation. So I want to talk really quickly about how you build corporate credit. So my number one step here is you want to properly set up an EIN number, a bank account. You should have a business address. It should not be your home address. Even if it's, you know, at the UPS store, that's not necessarily the best. It's still a step up from using your home address. While lots and lots of businesses are home-based, they just don't represent a great credit risk when lenders find that out. And then you want to have a domain email, meaning not a Yahoo, not a Gmail, not a Freemail, or one of those other free type services. You need to have it tied to a domain. And then you'll just start slowly and move up the spectrum. So, you know, the way we start people out in our credit builder programs is with net 30 vendors. That's just stuff that you have to pay off every month. It might be a Costco or a Buc-ee's or some sort of a fuel card, or even an Office Depot, something like that. And then you want to graduate up to store cards, fleet cards, and cash cards. And then keep an eye on your reports regularly. Part of our service is we provide regular updates on what your corporate credit report says and what your score is. And we're going to take a look at that here in just a minute. So you want to keep an eye on that and make sure that, you know, you're going in the right direction, not going in the wrong direction. So what I've done is I've taken some screenshots here of a business credit report that has a score. And I know that's probably a little bit small, but we're going to move down. Well, let me go back up here. I've highlighted a couple of things. I've highlighted the risk score. I've highlighted the credit limit for this particular business, and that what's called an international. And we'll get into like each little bit of this here in a moment. So the part A of this is, you know, your business identification. So you need to have a DUNS number, which stands for a Data Universal Numbering System. It's 9 digits. A DUNS number is issued by Dun & Bradstreet. You can contact the Dun & Bradstreet Corporation, and they will give you instructions on how to acquire a DUNS number. But it identifies your business in Dun & Bradstreet's global database. So it is the foundation for your business credit file. Without a DUNS number, no creditor really has an ability to report to not only Dun & Bradstreet, but the other Experian business and Equifax business, what your payment history is with them, because they don't have a number to report it on. So the DUNS number needs to match, you know, your business registrations and any credit applications that you might happen to put in. So let's take a little bit of a deeper dive here. I made this a little bit larger. Can you all see that? Okay, I'm gonna take that as an affirmative. This business here had a risk score of 52. It has an international score, B, a recommended credit limit of $1,500. They had no derogatory or legal things reporting. OFAC indicates whether the company is possibly on a list of sanctioned businesses by the U.S. government. We rarely run into anybody that is a possible OFAC. DBT stands for debt beyond terms. That's any accounts that are currently in a late pay status or they're beyond their due date. And this company only had 3 payment experiences. Thus, that's why they have a 52 score and a B international score. Just to give you a little bit more detail on what you would see as you move down the page, there would be an inquiries trend, definition of the different scores. So just like I showed you for personal credit, a high risk business would be something with a 1 to a 20 score. Again, still, well, it's actually very high risk. High risk would be 21 to 29, moderate 30 to 50, low risk 51 to 70, and very low risk would be a 71 to a 100 score. And then there are score descriptors in here. I'm not going to go through each one of these, but it might be recent bankruptcy on file, or a bankruptcy on file, or the ultimate holding company is bankrupt. They could deem that you're out of business. And I've seen that before when somebody wasn't out of business and we had to get that fixed. And a whole bunch of other little determining factors that are looked at on a business credit file. So, the credit summary, which I'll show you here in a minute, is going to show the number of trade lines, the age of accounts, and scores. And it really, what the credit summary is a snapshot of your business on this day or at this point in time, what your credit looks like. So moving down, this is kind of what a credit summary looks like. I know it's a bit ironic that the example company that I chose is 950 Credit LLC. It's just one that we use for demonstrative purposes. But you can see here, they have a 52 score, and this was a couple years old or a year old. But for this period of time, you can see their score really didn't go up, or it really didn't go down. So that's really not a good or a bad thing. What's really sort of a negative thing is they're just hanging out here at this 50, which is middle of the road. It's not great. It's not high risk, but you'd certainly like to shoot for a score that is higher than a 52. And then, other things that lenders see when they check corporate credit is this trade payment dashboard. So, this company doesn't have any beyond term. They have a total of 9 trade lines. They have 9 active trade lines, but they're only have a balance of $312. So they're not leveraging very high. And their average credit amount is only $35. So while they have 9 trade lines, they're not using very much credit, which works in their favor on one hand, and it works against them on the other hand, because they're not demonstrating that they have the ability to borrow funds and pay them back as agreed. They have some trade lines that are reporting, but they're really inactive. While that might benefit you in your personal score, this is where business and personal sort of diverge. And that a business credit lender that it would lend against your EIN is going to want to see that you have active accounts that you pay on. One of the things that we can help with is we can literally get a company's payroll reported onto their credit business, or reported onto their business credit report. Pardon me, I got a bit tongue-tied there. But you think about it, you borrow people's time, and then twice a month, you pay them back in the form of wages. So we can literally help companies get that added, and that really boosts their corporate credit profile in a hurry. So again, active trade lines good. Usage is hurting this company's score because they're just not really using it very often. So you can see here, I took this screenshot out of the report that the credit limit is $1,500. Well, think about that. If this business is running $500,000 or $1 million a year or more, and they can only get $1,500 in credit, there's something wrong with that equation. Now, the credit report doesn't set the credit limit. What they're doing is they're making a recommendation to lenders. They're saying, hey, we have all this data on a company that you're looking to lend to, and here's what we recommend you don't go above in terms of a credit limit because they're just that risky. And you may be the type of person or business that pays your bills like on time, or you don't even need to use a lot of credit. It just is affecting this company's ability to get what they might need. I'll give an example that I like to give, and that's, you think if you were a construction company, you've been in business maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years. A lot of those contractors, work with a lot of cash, or sometimes they work on like deferred payments or trade or all kinds of things. But let's say I'm in the city of Woodinville, Washington. So let's say the Woodinville City Hall decided that they wanted to do a remodel, and I wanted to bid on that remodel. And guess what? My bid came in as one of the top bids. Well, they're going to do more due diligence on my company, and they're probably going to check references. Well, references are kind of a joke because the only ones you're going to give are the ones people are going to talk really nice about you. But if they decide to pull your business credit, they're going to see, well, this company here, they're only worth like $1,500 in credit. They're 52. That's a moderate risk. Geez, like what if they don't pay their bills while they're doing our remodel? Will they finish the job? There's all kinds of ways you can extrapolate that thinking into why people would look at your business credit score and your business credit profile to make a decision as to even whether to hire you.
Hey, Heath, we're just about at time. Did you have a final slide?
I do.
Great.
Yes.
We'll have to have you train again because there's a lot here.
There is, I understand. So we'll just skip ahead a few here and we'll just wrap it up. So corporate credit, it's strategic, but it's not automatic. What I do is I help businesses build clean and help them scale their credit. And, if this is something that you think you want to talk about, I just say, I'll put my contact information in the chat, and you can reach out and schedule a one-to-one with me. So I really appreciate being able to tell you guys about this. I wish I could have got to more, but I talk slow. Let me end my sharing.
Awesome. Thanks, Heath. And welcome back, everybody. You guys were off screen for a bit, but you're back. Do we have any questions for Heath before we dive into the speech breakout?
Heath, I think I've asked something sort of like this in the past, but this initial whole discovery session you could take a business through before a plan is enacted. How long is that process? Is that 24 hours? Is it a couple of weeks of information gathering, et cetera? How does that play out?
It's a good question, Brian. So I think what you're asking is like, how long do I consult with somebody before I make a recommendation?
Yeah.
And that could be done literally in 30 minutes, or, some people want to take, a month to do it. So it really depends on you and how acute your needs are and, how motivated you are to make a change. But it doesn't take long. It's, again, it really is a function of, the other side of the table.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Heath, are most of your clients small businesses, medium-sized businesses, large?
Small
businesses?
and medium size. Anywhere from I have solopreneurs that are clients. I think the largest client I have might have around 50 people working there. But again, these are people that have done things the way that I always did, or that I did when I was young. And I try to give them, that personal experience so they don't make the same mistakes that I did.
That's great.
Excellent. And then Heath, do you say that we can find our own DUNS number, or do we have to go through somebody to do that? Like, should we
have to
just
just
have a number?
You can go to Dun & Bradstreet and register to get a DUNS number. So
Cool.
we looked at being resellers of that, but there just really wasn't any juice in doing it. So, we just direct people to go to D&B.
Okay, excellent. Well, let's dive into the speech breakout. So this is the point where Heath gets to take a breath, have a glass of water, and we get to see how well we all listen to the presentation. So we're going to actually talk about his presentation in a way that we would be able to refer to him. And so anybody can kind of popcorn out and answer, but let's talk about the target market, what people or businesses need Heath and his services.
Businesses that need to start acting smarter and not using personal credit, because up until Heath started working with these folks a few months back, I never knew this was even a thing. I've been an independent business owner for 30 years. That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
So
Everyone with that custom email where it's got their name at their email because they did the website stuff right. Those people need Heath.
Yeah, and businesses that rely upon capital investment. I mean, outlaying money for equipment or for product launches or anything where you're spending money maybe faster than it's coming in.
How about key conversations? So if you go out later, happy hour, some chamber event, maybe just a barbecue with friends, what might be like, oh, I know a guy that can help with this situation. What might you overhear? What would trigger that referral?
I would say if they're saying, we're kind of struggling to get the business, we're trying to expand, but we're not really sure where to get the finances from, stuff like that, or looking to market and, need money for that.
Anybody, I think Emma just touched upon it, actually. Thanks for stealing my thunder. But no, anyone who is looking to grow their business and expand, because that can rapidly diminish the liquidity of their funds. And to have Heath Services is kind of a backup plan. I think that's only going to help them in the long run.
There's something he said that I hadn't thought of before. In what I do, when I meet business owners, a question I often ask is, what's your exit strategy? And that, how are you going to, and I have said, this is going to come back to the Heath thing that was instrumental. But I'll ask, hey, if somebody offers you $1 million, are you going to be flattered or insulted? In other words, what's your business worth? And there's ways to grow that. And what you'd said, Heath, is that talked about how when that is structured, that's among the kind of things that can make your business more valuable. I didn't think of it that way. So that was a smart way to say, they don't know if they need you or not, but they sure ought to talk to you to figure out, are they structuring their financing in a way that amplifies the value of their business now and in the future?
Excellent. Yeah. And I'm also thinking about the people who are maybe trying to buy a home, or they're working with somebody to clean up their credit because they have been using their personal credit as business corporate credit. And so people who are in that conversation of having a bigger portfolio, this, it's a different way to finance. Any other thoughts on key conversations? What might you tag? And Heath, where can we tag you on Facebook where we could tag you into a conversation? Is that your personal account that we want to tag, or?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sort of a neophyte when it comes to the social media. Marcel, you can scold me even more.
I would never.
I am on LinkedIn. I do have a personal Facebook page. You'll find nothing offensive on there. So yeah, that's all I have right now.
Okay, we'll definitely add Heath as a friend to everybody on both LinkedIn and as a connection on LinkedIn or Facebook. Rosie, I'm trying to get you back on camera. I'm not sure why you're off camera. That might be on your side. Okay. Excellent. So beneficial syndications, and this is the idea, like this video right here was a great 20-minute presentation by Heath. Where can we put that video now? Do you guys know of a LinkedIn group, an email database that this should be blasted out to? Maybe sponsorship ideas? Does anybody have insight on beneficial syndications for Heath and or his website? Where should we be linking that?
There's a number of different business and or financial based Facebook groups that Heath could start basically data mining and dropping in this sort of content. And it can also, you can use a third-party web screen capture device to capture just the presentation or snippets within that and turn that into those little types of carrots that you drop into these types of closed groups, Heath. And I know the Cro-Magnon and neophyte and you were starting to come out and go, ooh, where do I do that? Well, a number of us here, especially Marcel, that's her job, that's her business, can definitely help you with that because it's really important. What you're doing is important. And like I said, it's embarrassing. 30 plus years, never heard about this until you.
Heath, also,
I'm really headed or just didn't realize it. But
I think something that a Cro-Magnon could digest is the concept of co-marketing or co-branding to kind of sometimes 1+1 brings. My favorite example is Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart. First time I heard of that, I said, whoa, I want to see what this is. But some are less dramatic. And I have a friend and associate in a business that's called Get Priorities Straight. He does, it's kind of like a digital or financial, it's more than budgeting. But I feel like I want to introduce, and the owner of that is Doug Peterson.
Yeah, I know Doug.
Doesn't
Doug's
everybody
great.
love Doug? So Doug
He'd
is
be
great
great.
in a dinner setting. He tells stories. He's one of those things where he tells stories and everybody laughs and he looks proud and he can deliver a joke, man. But
Yeah.
back to what he does professionally has made a profound difference for some of my clients. And a counterintuitive pairing is you and him talking to Lincoln and maybe co-branding. I think that's something that's really a way to get people's attention. So I'll introduce you to.
Yeah, that's a great one. Thanks, Brian. And also, Heath, I've got my Financial Joy community. I just checked on Facebook. It's only 56 members, but that's 56 people who are in the sales and marketing game, and they're trying to grow their cash flow. So maybe in a couple of weeks or months, you and I go live into that group and we do a conversation. So I bring you on as the guest expert. You get to delight them with all this beautiful information. And because I know some of them, when I look at data art, we're looking at personal debt. And I would so much rather be looking at corporate debt and not get rid of that personal stuff. Okay, any other ideas for beneficial syndications or any other stages or podcasts that we could get Heath on? All right, so next one is other categories. So in this community here, we're always looking to really build out Heath to have a great sales team. So who's not in the room that should be in this room, virtual room? That would be a great extension. That would just be bringing Heath referrals left and right. I would think a website developer, because again, they get that not at Gmail, but like Marcel at Dreamosity. The minute they have that, it sounds like they're now eligible to go through that process. So I think a web developer would be great in here, because those
Business
are all
broker, people who buy and sell businesses.
yeah.
They're listening because they get people. I refer small business to these guys. Hey, I'm not going to sell. I don't know when. Yeah, never know. What if somebody walks in and offers you $1 gazillion? You're selling?
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah.
So having Heath to fold that in. So I got a guy too. I'll hook you up, Heath. So
Okay.
his name is Don Scholes is the guy's name. So I'm sure Marcel knows Don too, right?
I don't know Don yet. That's a new name for me.
It's a matter of time.
Let's grow the community. I love it. Any other ideas? Well, having a business lawyer or like a contracts lawyer, they might be good.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't think you mentioned commercial broker too. That might have been mentioned, but those are, obviously those are people that are buying or moving people into leased properties. And with that goes all the build outs, all of the expenses, all of the reasons why to tie it into a business line of credit, or I should say, I'm saying it wrong, Heath. I'm sorry, but you utilizing Heath services versus spoiling their own personal stuff.
Yeah, and also a business coach. Well, I feel like I do a lot of coaching with clients. That's not my main role. I'm more of a marketing specialist than a business coach. But a business coach would be great for Heath, because they'd be like, "Why are you using your Discover card? Stop it and talk to Heath." Like they would see that, or that bookkeeper CPA role, which Rosie covers. Excellent. Well, good job. Let's see. What do I got next up here? So thank you, Heath. That concludes your portion. Fantastic job. Thank you so much. And let's definitely work everybody to get this video out in front of more networks now so they can see his presentation and learn more about Heath. And now we're going to talk about referrals and testimonials. So this is a chance if you're like, I encourage everybody to say something, even if it's just, "Hey, nice hair, Heath. You look good today." Give a testimonial, say some kind words. And if you have a referral or a specific contact you want to make, now's the time to kind of tee that up. So a lot of people just kind of popcorn out with information. Rosie, do you want to come back on? Are you parked? Here she is. I'll bring her back out. Rosie, we see you. Okay. Brian Trendler, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to use this as kind of a follow-up. Marcel, I gave you Melissa's contact information and vice versa a while back. I'm doing some work for her. I believe she was going to reach out to you, so this And I don't know if I've actually given you the lead versus just talk to her. So if not, newsflash, congratulations, you have a lead. Have you heard from her?
Not since we did a one-to-one after our very first meeting a
Okay.
couple months ago.
Okay, so then that is considered a new outside lead for you, because she's definitely going to need to incorporate some social media branding strategies now that her branding is being worked on. So she's very excited about that. So that should be a good one for you. And then quick testimonial. I am that guy, everybody. If that's ever been doubted, I'm officially claiming it. Unfortunately, I left the need to extend on the tax day in someone else's hands, which is a nice way of saying my ex, and it didn't happen in time. So last night, I called Rosie in a panic saying, I need to make certain that I get the appropriate file, meaning the end of year reports and everything, because I thought I had everything I needed and I didn't. And she helped me. She was willing. Actually, she wasn't even at her desk. She texted or called or whatever. Her husband, who's a good guy, he came to the rescue per her coaching and aiding, and I got it done. So Rosie, thank you. You are my bookkeeping bulldog, and I really, really appreciate you. So that's testimonial for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's
I
next,
guess
Nicole?
I'll go. I want to give a shout out to Marcel. So we did a one-on-one last week, and she gave me a lot of great tips for building up our social media, and we plan to do our first live sometime this week, hopefully. If not, it'll be next week at the home show. So if you guys do go, you guys could be on the live with Rob. Nudge, nudge, hint, hint. So we got a lot of great tips, and me and Rob have just been going over it, and we're about to take that leap into just doing lives. And she, kind of what she tells us even here on Digital PNA, that it's not just that it has to be Rob, like it can be me as well. So got a lot of ideas cooking. Me and Rob were in a meeting for an hour, literally the following day. And I was like, this is what she told me. These are the tips. And one of the biggest things that stood out was, hey guys, even when we're like just talking, me and Robin were practicing for life. I'm like, hey, guys, don't say that. I'm like, Marcel said not to say that. I'm like, because you're only talking to one person. So, yeah. So thank you, Marcel, for that. And, we'll see. Y'all see us when we go live. So, yeah.
I love that. And yeah, and just so we all know here that I say don't say, hey guys, because people watch it as an individual. We're never sitting in a room with like 20 of our besties, watching it together, right? We're not at a movie theater. So talking to the individual is really important. And with that being said, I've got a testimonial for Brian. So last week we drove up to Arlington, and I know we're not supposed to totally talk about it, but he's taken this PNA organization and really growing it, PNA Northwest, I have to clarify. And just the whole idea of an Arlington chapter launching is very exciting. And it's fun to see him train and mentor new people. So great job there. And then BV, just great to have you here. Sounds like you know some great people. And I love that you're a finance guy doing digital. I know JD, and I love that you're doing video, because I know there can be compliance and there can be challenges there, but it sounds like you guys are getting through that muck and you're making content. So I can't wait to go stalk you.
Well, I would like to shout out for Mike with that great presentation last week. I did reach out to Courtney to see if we can look at some new options. I know she's doing like a radio ad right now, and I just don't know that it's bringing us as much business as we need. So I'm definitely want to thank that. And definitely, again, thank Heath for a great presentation. As always, a pleasure listening. I think you're a great presenter, so fun to hear about it.
Yeah, and I'm going to echo the kudos to Heath, because that's complicated stuff that most people don't have a real sort of foundational knowledge about. And it requires education and explanation and a degree of trust that the person presenting the material is credible. And well done on all of those things. Thank you, Heath.
Gosh, thank you. Is it my turn? I got just about everybody here. I just want to mention, Brian, your continued support, means a lot to me. If you don't know, Brian got me to open a new chapter of PNA NW in downtown Seattle, and he's been showing up. He's been there to support us every step of the way. I'm going to put a shameless plug in here. If you know somebody, in the greater Seattle area that could join our group, we would really love to expand beyond the headcount where we're at right now. They can visit us Wednesday morning at 8. We're still meeting on Zoom. So if you want to just reach out and contact me, I can, get you that Zoom invite, or you can find it on the PNA website. How'd I do, Brian? I promoted the PNA website. I also want to thank Mike. Mike's a part of that group. Mike's here in digital. I know Mike's in the Mill Creek group, as I'm in the North Creek group as well. We are the PNA Warriors, man.
You guys are. You're
Brian, we're your soldiers, my friend.
Wolverines.
We're here for you. And of course, Christina, we don't get much of a chance to interact, but I see Rob every week, and I'm constantly driving through my neighborhood, wanting to stop at houses at night and knock on the door and go, "You need some lights." And Emma and I've done a one-on-one, and you're really great. And Brian V, man, it was really great to meet you. And I hope this isn't the last time our paths cross. You really brought a unique vibe to this meeting. I loved it. You were a hard guy to follow. And of course, Marcel, I love you, and you just do a great job. Even though I said you scolded me, but not really. You're just, constantly nudging and planting seeds. And, I really like the style. And of course, Rosie, who can't say something nice about Rosie? I love your hair.
right.
It's matching. It's corresponding with the tint in your glasses, and you look amazing.
Thanks.
But Rosie and I have hung out a little bit. We've done a one-on-one. We went to a Christmas party together this year, and she's just fantastic. I love hanging out with you. So I just got a little something for everybody. Just love today.
Thanks, Heath. And I got a backseat. So Rosie, I want you to follow up with Elise. Be a bulldog. Go get her. She knows she's stuck.
She did message me this week. So
good. Okay, so that is still a lead. I want you to double down on your bulldoginess with her, because she's one of my hippie friends. She's just needs the firm energy. And then Brian, so I gave one of my florist clients, I do her website and help her with all her socials. She's winning all these awards, and she's like, "You got to get Brian into the knot and the Snohomish County Wedding Guild." And so she's got 10 of his cards now, and she's going to send him a bunch of lovely brides who need an officiant. So stay tuned for your phone to start ringing off the hook, because she is my website's getting her 10 leads a month. I mean, she's getting so much business that she just is anyway. So that's coming to you, Brian. Any other referrals, testimonials?
Let me give you a little nugget that to use instead of bulldog. This is something that really kind of an epiphany of attitude that came about, because I've used maybe I'm too nice, or maybe I got to be a polar bear. But here's this concept: there's niceness and kindness are two different things. Sometimes we're afraid to be a bulldog because we want to be nice, but just like a parent, sometimes you got to be. Kindness could be assertiveness. And that's why I've kind of shifted just to how I may not look and sound any different, but I feel like, hey, what I'm proposing is going to change your life. So no, I'm not just going to walk away. I'm going to annoy you because, and I want to cuss in between us. This will change your life. Let's go. Be assertive. Hey, come meet these people. It'll change your life. Let's go. So not necessarily bulldog, but a kind polar bear, if there's such a thing. So.
A kind polar bear. That's fantastic, Brian. Thank you. That's your new brand, Rosie. Kind polar bear. Okay, so moving along. Thank you for the referrals and testimonials. And I just want to remind folks, if you didn't get a referral today, I challenge you, reach out to every single person here and set up a one-to-one. What would it take for me to earn your trust and to earn your referrals? Have that conversation. We already know about, where we live and marital status and all that stuff, but let's get beyond to how can we get, I see a mic, I'm bringing you back. What would it take for me to earn your business and to earn your referrals? Have those direct polar bear, would you call it polar bear kindness? That encouragement, because I know everybody here knows hundreds of people. If you're not getting the referrals as fast as you want, the one-to-ones will help Speed that up. Moving on to the speaker rotation. So, Miss Marcel, I will be next, May 7th. Curious if you guys want to see more about social media or more about data art or video, or if you guys have any requests, let me know because I aim to serve. After me, Rosie, you're on deck, and then Brian Trendler, and then Karen, Emma, and Christina.
While we're on, I didn't know what to expect. This has been pretty great. Is this the digital family so far? Is that, or are there?
Yes. So let me
Okay.
actually see if I can bounce back a couple.
And
This
one of us
is
are in Texas. The rest of us are Seattle-ish.
Yeah,
Karen is in
We're in
Arizona.
Arizona.
we are down 2 members right now. BV, they
Okay.
just Karen, also another financial advisor,
Okay.
and just FYI, this is the only PNA chapter that is open category, which means there could be more than one person that does what you do, but that doesn't work against people because it breeds a little bit of competitive passion, as well as often you can wow, I can't speak. You can become referral partners with that person because you might do things they don't do and vice versa. So we're down a financial advisor, and Mara hasn't been with us for a while. She's planning on coming back, but she now owns like the Pickleball Kingdom franchise with her brother in the Pacific Northwest, and they're in the process of opening like 3 locations. There you have it.
Cool.
Excellent. So up next we have events this Friday here in Mill Creek. If you want to head this way, take the ferry over, BV, you're welcome to join us for a fun comedy show. We can do some improv with you. And then also May 3rd, we'll be down in Sumner. So you can always learn more about our comedy nights at facebook.com/laughtechnw/events. And I encourage you to invite your friends who maybe they're kind of cranky. They need to laugh. They need some humor. Humor heals. Life is hard. It doesn't have to be bad every day, though. And then, Brian, speak to the second one, if you would, in May.
Yeah, thank you. So this is the second time that I have been part of this event with a local banker, a manager of the First Citizens Bank out of the Linwood area. Long story short, it was her idea to connect nonprofit organizations with businesses that have a side specialty of working with NPOs. So we came up with the NPO Connect event. Last year, it was so successful, they were mad that we didn't do another one. So this year, we're doing this one. Probably just going to be a once-a-year thing. New location, follow that link. We could put it in the chat window as well. It is free to attend if you're a nonprofit. It is free to be a vendor if you work with nonprofits. And I'm still looking for about 8 more businesses that want to have a 3-foot section of a 6-foot table. We're limited to how many people we can have in the space, but trust me, 3 feet is enough because you're going to spend more time just talking with people. It's not the tchotchkes and stuff that you bring. It's making real connections with NPOs that are hungry to learn about you. And I say that because most NPOs fail in the first 2 years of business. It's crazy how little they know about resources available to them, or again, businesses maybe like yourselves that have a specialty division to work with them. So if you think this is of interest, you can literally just follow through to the Facebook event and leave a comment in that event, and I'll get you in touch with Rhonda, who's heading up the assignments. Thank you, Marcel.
Excellent. Thanks, Brian. And just a reminder, if anybody else wants to announce an event, you can do that now verbally or drop the link. And then if you can get the links to me within, 24 hours before the next digital PNA, I'll put it up here on the slide so folks can see it. Mike, do you have anything this month for events?
We do have some events, but I will I'll find the website so you can peruse at your leisure.
Excellent. Thank you. So our next step, Brian, do you want to speak to membership renewals? So this may be important for BV to hear about.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So once again, hi, everybody. PNA hat now. Digital PNA, honestly, is someday is going to take over the world. It's a really neat concept. This is actually Marcel's fault. 2 years ago, she came to me and she was like, boo-hoo, I'm not getting enough love. I'm kidding. She was getting referrals. What she wanted to do was expand her reach. And this is her. She came up with the idea of, why don't we have a chapter that covers literally 0 zip codes, not one independent tied to a brick and mortar zip code. Let's cover the whole state. Let's cover the whole world, whatever. We started it. It grew up and down. That's the way it works. But it's a really neat experience to be able to market and categorize and take care of an entire state, and now plus 2 states with Emma and Christina. We're lucky to have them in 2 sunshiny states, and they've given us sun temporarily here in the Pacific Northwest. So this is the cost structure. A regular location, an actual physical chapter is $300 a year. So literally it's just double, but it's double because marketing dollars are going into giving you exposure into the whole state and beyond. And if you're already selling online, if you're already shipping online, coaching online, great segue into what we have here, because these are other categories we're looking for to welcome into the PNA family, as well as potentially like Brian, number 2 here, BV. It's okay to have competitive categories in this group because we may not cover the whole state. We may do that and or other states. So why not increase your network and your net worth by having the benefit of such a large reach?
Yep. Thank you, Brian. And with that in mind, we are looking to grow this digital chapter now that we can have people from really just anywhere live streaming. It's a cool option. But the people on the screen here, digital artists, an illustrator, an AI expert, a productivity coach, right? People who don't have a brick and mortar, they're not bound by a zip code. We would love to invite them to the digital realm because like as you're seeing in the chat, if you're on this the restream here, people are showing you their links, their publications, their podcasts, their speaker sheets. Our goal for this group is to take that content and move it into places that are more specific. Brian did ask in the chat here for me to do a data art example. I think I will do another data art example of sphere of influence. And so I'll do that for the next session. But for every hour we're together, there should be maybe another hour of activity offline of networking people's content around, introducing Heath to people who is a podcast host that really needs to hear about corporate credit and vice versa, right? So be thinking about your sphere of influence that you're willing to go to for your PNA network, right? So we'll look at that more thoroughly next. When I present, I'll do some, I'll use mock data and real data, but looking at each of our sphere of influence. Now, on average, people know 250 people. When we're digitally marketing, we could all be reaching 10 to 20 to 30,000 people a month with things like video, leverage, in different Facebook groups. And so this is where it starts to get cooking, where all of a sudden you go from talking to 3 or 4 people a day to 300 or 400 people a day. The game will change, you guys. It's very exciting when it does. So with that, I think I am out of slides now. We have a black screen here. So we made it to the end. Congratulations. And we're ahead of schedule. So let's see.
2 minutes.
Anybody have any final words or favorite parts of the event that you want to recap?
Well, I too like Brian Vaughn's hair. That was pointed out before, and Rosie's hair. And I need to leave on that note.
I used to be an Afro guy. My wife said, I kind of like it short. And so now she plays with it. She wouldn't play with my hair when there's a whole story. I want to say I got invited to a BNI thing earlier. Oh. And who does that? And I did, have some experience with that. I've got another network. It was pretty weak. You guys are vibing. Oh, this is a hoot. And I went there to just, okay, I'll check it out. Because nobody invites a financial person. I keep trying to, that's not really what I am. But this is fun. So you guys got a good vibe. And the fact that I do business in Texas and Arizona and Washington and some others. But those 3 states are my thing. So
that's
we're
great.
already related. So
hey, everybody, I want you to smile bright. Rosie, if you can lean back, you're like super zoomed in. I'm going to take a screenshot. So let's get a happy one. We can get BT's eye. There we go. Wait, let me get one more just in case. 1, 2. So we call this social proof. We want to talk about great videos, great events, great meetings that are more than just meetings. We're actually passing business here. Our goal every month, just so you guys know, is to hit $15,000 in referral business. Sometimes we exceed that, sometimes we're under it, but we do have a goal. So my final words, if you do have any closed business from the last, 16 days for April, please send it to me and or Brian Trendler, and we'll keep track of that. So keep up the good work and set up some one-to-ones. Have fun out there. Interview each other on Instagram Live. That would be so cool.
First week in May. We'll see you then.
Yeah.
All righty. Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Everyone.
Cheers.